This is the Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Parramatta Leagues Club, home of the Eels, and also home of Jack's Pale Ale.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here with my little co-host Ella as well. How you going, Ella?
Good. I've been waiting for this.
And this is, of course, the tipping podcast that comes to you each and every week. And can you believe it? It is round number 11 this weekend.
Wasn't it round number 1 just a couple weeks ago?
Oh, yes. Time flies when you're having fun. I remember during the off-season, it was just waiting, and then all of a sudden the season started, and now we're already in round 11. And, of course, the tipping podcast brought to you by the sponsors of the tipping competition, Ashore Strata Reports on Instagram and Buddy Oldman Masters Boxer. He's also on Instagram as well now, so give them both a follow, please. That would be much appreciated. They are the sponsors. They are throwing up some cash money for this tipping competition, the Paracave Podcast tipping competition. And speaking of that, we have a new leader at the moment. Pluke has got the number 1 spot there in the tipping competition.
Were you about to say in the tipping podcast?
Yes, I think I was. But yes, Pluke is the new leader at the moment by 1 point on 53 points. Diggs _96 on 52. Jaden Zaid 51. Amanda WW on 50. There's about 6 people on 50 points. So very congested there up at the top there. Myself, not too good. I'm in 58th spot, only on 41 points. So, yeah, didn't have the best of tipping rounds. Ella out-tipped me last week, didn't you?
Yeah.
How many did you get last week?
Let me just check.
I think you got 3. I think you might have got 4. I'm not too sure.
I got 4.
You got 4.
And I got 36 points.
That's right. I got 3 and you got 4. So you out-tipped me last week. So I dare say that the listeners will probably not listen to our tips, I don't think. I think they'll probably make up their own minds, I think.
Or they might listen to mine.
Potentially, yeah, because, I mean, you did out-tip me. There was a few 5s that were tipped. I think that was the highest number. No, there was a couple. 5 was the highest tipping throughout the week. So well done to those who got 5. It's absolutely hard to do this tipping competition at the moment.
It would be hard to get 8.
Absolutely. I don't think anyone in this competition at the moment has got a perfect round. Well, that's enough about the tipping competition. Yeah. Let's get into the tips and the games for the week. And as I said, it's round 11. It kicks off on Friday, the 16th of May now. Kicks off on Friday at 6 p.m. because the Women's State of Origin game number 2 is on Thursday night. So that is at Allianz Stadium. So hoping the New South Wales side can get the victory and wrap up the series at home. Just quickly, Ella, New South Wales or Queensland in the Women's State of Origin?
New South Wales.
Okay, that is great to hear. New South Wales from myself as well. So, anyway, back to the NRL, and Newcastle take on the Parramatta Eels on Friday, the 16th of May, round 11 at McDonald Jones Stadium.
And I think you already know who I'm going to tip.
Yes, well, I won't. Yeah, oh, well, there you go. You've just given it away, so I don't need to ask you about that one. But for Newcastle, Dane Gagai, he plays his 300th NRL game, and I think he's equal 52nd on the list of games played list. So congratulations to Dane for playing his 300th game on Friday. So that is a big achievement, that one. Look, the big news for Parramatta fans is Zach Lomax is back from a foot injury. He's been sidelined since that game-winning field goal against the Dragons in round number 5. So he's got one game to impress the New South Wales selectors, and unfortunately though it is a straight swap for Bailey Simonson, who picked up a foot injury last week. I don't know what it is with foot injuries in Parramatta, but there's been 3 of them this year. So
is there usually that many?
Oh, I don't know. No, I don't think so. I think it's very rare. I don't know what's going on.
I don't think 2025 is the year.
No. So
because you said they usually don't get that many foot injuries.
Yes, no, you don't want injuries in a season. But one change to the forward pack, Matt Dury is added to the starting side. Charlie Geimer has not been named in the squad. Tony Mattelli is the new man on the bench and is in line for his NRL debut. So just a couple of changes there. One forced change with the injury to Bailey. And I guess one form change maybe for Charlie, and a couple of ins for Parramatta. So I will tip Parramatta.
I'm not.
No, you already said you were tipping Newcastle, and I don't think you've ever tipped Parramatta, to be honest.
No.
There you go. Okay, so I'm tipping Parramatta. You've got Newcastle. The next game is on Friday, 8 p.m. So straight after that one, the Bulldogs take on the Roosters at Accor Stadium in Sydney, expecting a big crowd there. The Bulldogs, they came back from 20-0 down last week against the Raiders down there in Canberra to get the victory. The Roosters had the bye last week, so they should be fresh. Just the one change, unfortunately, in that game for the Bulldogs, Jamin Salmon suffered an ankle injury. He'll be out for a extended period. Harry Hayes comes into the starting side, and Luke Smith is in line to make an NRL debut off the bench. Always good for youngsters to get a NRL debut. For the Roosters, Lindsay Collins has this game again to prove his fitness for a Queensland State of Origin call-up. He is on the bench, and he hasn't played since round 5 as well, just like Zach Lomax. And no other changes for the Roosters after they enjoyed the bye last week. Look, you would think on form, definitely, and the positions, you'd probably say the Bulldogs. You never know, the Roosters may surprise us and get a victory. They have beaten the Panthers this season, and also one other team that escapes me at the moment. So you just never know. These big games bring out the best of these big game players like your James Tedesco, Spencer Linus, Connor Watsons, Angus Crichtons and the like, Victor Radley. So look, it's going to be a cracking game, but I will ask you, Ella, who are you tipping?
Okay, let me check. I'm going to say that a lot today. I am tipping the Bulldogs.
And I will tip the Bulldogs as well. I think
so. We agree on that one.
Yeah, so I think their run will continue.
Hooray, we agree.
They will definitely have a big test coming up in the next couple of weeks with their captain, Stephen Crichton, out with, or he will be playing Origin definitely. Maybe Jacob Kiraz as well. Maybe one or two of the forwards as well. You just never know. On Saturday, back to 3 games on the Saturday. Dolphins and Warriors kick it off at Suncorp Stadium, Saturday 3 p.m. up there in Brisbane. The Dolphins last start winners against Parramatta. The Warriors 1-point winners over the Dragons down there in Wollongong. They are probably the form team at the moment. The Warriors, you'd have to say. The Bulldogs, I guess, they're leading the competition, but the Warriors, they seem to be sneaking under everyone's radar at the moment and playing some good footy. But no changes to the Dolphins, to that side that defeated Parramatta last week. Ray Stone and Tom Gilbert have switched roles, with Ray Stone to start at lock, Gilbert at second row. For the Warriors, James Fisher-Harris, a big in for the Warriors there. He has been named at prop and captain, whilst Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, look, he'll be given, he hasn't played for a while, he'll be given every chance to prove his fitness, so he may or may not play. But another away game for the Warriors, and the Dolphins, well, you could say an away game, seeing as though it's not at KO Stadium in Redcliffe, but it is in Brisbane. Ella, who are you tipping in this one?
In this one, I am going the Dolphins.
Dolphins, yeah, look, I'm going to go the Warriors in this one. I think they're just playing some good footy at the moment, combining well. Big inclusion with James Fisher-Harris coming back as well. So I'm going to go the Warriors. The second game on Saturday sees the Cowboys take on the Sea Eagles up there in Townsville. A second week in a row home game for the Cowboys. 30-all draw last week against the Panthers. The Sea Eagles went down to the Cronulla Sharks. Then this is an interesting one, I thought. Jake Clifford has been, he is 18th man. Jackson Purdue, he has been shifted from centre to 5'8", and it's a pretty much a major shake-up. I didn't see this one coming, to be honest. And Tom Dearden to play halfback, he's usually the 5'8". So Zach Laybutt comes into the centres, and it will be his first NRL game since tearing his ACL in round 5 last year. Wow. No other changes for the Sea Eagles. They have been struggling a little bit lately. Jake Trbojevic, he goes back to his customary position of lock as he looks to get back into the New South Wales State of Origin side. He was the captain, of course, last year anyway, but a bit of conversation about whether he will be captain or not, or in the team. So back to his primary position of lock. And Jazz Tavanga goes back to hooker. Ethan Bullimore to start at prop. Jake Simpkin back to the bench. Look, as I said, the Cowboys 30-all last week against the Panthers. They can score points at home. The Sea Eagles, they have been struggling of late. So this is a big game for the Sea Eagles to get their season back on track before they more than likely lose one, potentially two, maybe 3, 4 even State of Origin players over this State of Origin period. Ella, who are you tipping in this one? Cowboys or Manly?
In this one, I'm going for the Cowboys.
Yeah, so I think the Cowboys will be too strong at home as well. A lot of pressure on them at home to get the victory. So I think they will get the win. They can score a lot of points. The last game on Saturday, 7:35 p.m. is at Sharks Stadium. Now, interestingly, the Sharks haven't played at home, I think, since round number 4. They've been to Perth. They've been to Magic Round. They might have even been to Townsville in that time as well, or before that. So they have been doing a lot of travelling, but they're not using that as an excuse. The Melbourne Storm, they have the good news of Mr. Harry Grant being named in jumper number 21 on the extended bench. Will he get a start before the Origin sides are picked? Who knows? Just needs to prove his fitness. So, look, I think he might just sneak into this Melbourne Storm side that absolutely smashed the Tigers last week, 64-0. Tui Kamakamita has been named on the bench, and Big Nelson Asafa Solomona, he goes to the reserves. So, for the Sharkies, Sifa Talakai, he may return as well. He's been named onto the bench for the Sharks. T. Wilton has been named in the reserves as well. So, just have to wait and see what happens here. Oregon Confuci returns to the starting side. Tom Hazelton succumbs to a shoulder injury he suffered last weekend, so he is out, unfortunately, for the Sharkies. A bit of a cult hero down there in the Shire. Back at home, will the Sharks be too strong for the Storm? Look, I don't think so. I think the Storm, look, they're slowly just heading towards the finals, but they had that loss against the Raiders up there in Magic Round, and they absolutely gave it to the Tigers last week. I think Ryan Papenhuyzen scored 36 points. They are a real football team. So, Ella, who are you tipping in this one?
In this one, I am going the Storm.
Yeah, look, I'm going the Storm as well. I think they will be too strong for the Sharks. So I'm not really convinced about the Sharks at the moment, but they have been winning games. But this will be a real test for them. Sunday football action sees the Broncos play on a Sunday, 2 p.m. against the Dragons at Suncorp Stadium. Now, the big news for the Broncos is Ezra Mam is playing his first game after his suspension. Ben Hunt is out, unfortunately, with a hamstring injury, 4 to 6 weeks for that one. So that is the big out, but the big in, I guess you could say. For the Dragons, Toby Couchman has suffered a shoulder injury. Jack DeBellin comes back into the starting side. Blake Laurie, the new face on the bench. So, look, a few changes to the Dragons side that went down to the Warriors last week, 15-14. The Broncos, they went down to the South Sydney Rabbitohs, 22-14. So they will be wanting to get back on the horse, so to speak, pardon the pun, and get a victory and get their season back on track. A lot of talk about Coach Madge Maguire and his coaching style with this Brisbane side. Apparently there was a harbour cruise last week as well involved. A lot of talk about that one as well. But I'm sure they will get back on track this weekend against the Dragons. The Dragons, look, they've had a few losses in a row now, which has been disappointing. I've tipped them a couple of times, so again, they will want to get their season back on track. Big test for them going up to Queensland, but you never know, they could spring a surprise. But Ella, who are you going in this one for?
In this one, I am going, let it just load, the Broncos.
The Broncos, yes, I'm going the Broncos as well in this one. I think they will get it at home. The second last game on Sunday, because there's 3 games on Sunday because of the Women's Origin game. So the middle game on Sunday sees the Raiders back at home again, 2 weeks in a row, taking on the Titans. Now, interestingly, these two sides, different form last week. The Raiders, their first half was unstoppable, 20-0 at halftime. And the Titans, they were down 20-0 against the Newcastle Knights. Flipped to the second halves, and the Raiders lost to the Bulldogs 32-20, and the Titans overcame the Newcastle Knights 24-20. So, very interestingly there, we both know that they can score points as well, which will be, it could be a high-scoring game as well. Unfortunately for the Raiders, Matty Nicholson, the Englishman, he has to go for surgery with a lower leg injury. He'll be out for 12 weeks potentially, which is a big blow because he's been one of their great players for the Raiders. So, Corey Horsburgh, he returns after he suffered a head knock during Magic Round. And maybe he's playing for a Queensland Origin spot. If he plays okay and has a big performance, he'll maybe get into that on a bench spot into the Origin side. Who knows? For the Gold Coast Titans, big news, Kieran Foran is back into this Titans side, named at number 14 on the bench. His first game this season since the pre-season challenge. So Jamin Jolliffe also returns from suspension via the bench as well. So a couple of changes there for the Titans. Look, I don't know how to get a read on this one. I tipped the Raiders last week down there against the Bulldogs because it was a sold-out GIO stadium. I think I'll probably tip the same as well, just because it is at home again, and I can't see the Raiders putting in a performance like that at home 2 weeks in a row. Ella, who are you tipping in this one?
I am going for the Raiders.
Yes, I'm going for the Raiders as well to get the job done against the Titans. The last game, 6:15 p.m, so sort of Sunday evening football sees the West Tigers back at Campbelltown taking on the South Sydney Rabbitohs. So, look, the Tigers, they would want to get redemption for that massive loss against the Melbourne Storm last week, 64-0 down there at Amy Park. So, to play at one of their home games, home venues, I should say, they will want to get this victory and get their season back on track. Jerome Luai, will he get a State of Origin spot? Maybe, maybe not. Terrell May, maybe he might get a bench spot. So, look, this is a good little trial, a good little contest to see how they go. The Rabbitohs, will it be the Latrell Mitchell show again like last week? Alex Johnston, he's been named to make his return from a hamstring injury. Can he score some tries and get closer to that all-time try-scoring record? Who knows? Just have to wait and see what happens there. So just the one change for the Rabbitohs there. Alex Johnston coming in to the wing spot. So, look, if Latrell Mitchell plays like he did last week, then the Rabbitohs will go a long way to winning this game. The Tigers, they will, as I said, they probably have had a hard week at training this week under Coach Benji Marshall. We'll just have to wait and see how that goes. But 6:15 p.m, Sunday, the 18th of May, round 11, Tigers versus Rabbitohs. Ella, who are you tipping there?
I am going for the Rabbitohs.
Yes, I'm going to tip the Rabbitohs as well. So that's, I think they can get the job done and get 2 wins in a row there. Okay, so just recapping the tips there. We're both going the Blues women's side in Origin. Ella's going Newcastle. I'm going Parramatta. Bulldogs, I think we're both going the Bulldogs. I think you're going the Dolphins, is that right?
Yeah.
Against the Warriors. I'm going to go the Warriors. I think we're both going the Cowboys. I think we're both going the Storm. We're both going the Broncos. Raiders and Titans. Who did you tip in that one? Raiders, I think.
Raiders.
Yeah, so we're both going the Raiders and we're both going the Rabbitohs. And who has the bye this weekend, Ella?
The Penrith Panthers.
The Penrith Panthers. So they have the bye this weekend and they'll get 2 points for that one. So thank you very much for listening to this tipping podcast. I hope you really enjoyed it. And as I said at the top, be brave. And if you want to, follow our tips. If not, let us know which ones are different to... let us know what your one are different to ours. Enjoy your rugby league across the weekend. There should be some cracking games before the State of Origin kicks off in a couple of weeks' time, so cannot wait for that one. Go the Blues, and the Paracay podcast by the fan for the fans.
Bye.
Go Para! Ellen, how you going,
Bruce.
mate? Are you a Paracay podcast listener?
I am, bro. It's a
Okay.
great podcast. Everyone tune in. Sure.
Go Para!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracay Podcast. See you next time.